Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Smoke World. I got my main brothers in the building. Andrew, the man, the legend, who has written a book, Failure Rules. And my co-host for the day, Rami, the motherfucking man in the building. Rami, what's up, brother?
Yeah,
now, Rami has brought us and blessed us with cigars.
Fucking Daco.
Absolutely. Now, Rami, what are we smoking, brother?
Oh, we got the today one of my favorites, especially for this good crowd. I got the gave you guys the Hoyo Black by AJ Fernandez. It's a project we did. The project was called Hoyo La Amistad. It was a series of cigars AJ Fernandez did for us, and that's got the Ecuador Habano Oscuro wrapper, Mexican binder, and Nicaraguan filler. Kind of in the AJ Fernandez style. He's kind of got a signature, he's kind of got that signature flavor. Stuff tastes different, but he kind of has that one signature note. And that's what I gave you guys. I really love this series. It's awesome. It's been out for about 4 years now, I think. And that was, I think, number 3 of the series. So
number 3 in the series. Okay, I got a question in reference to this kind of scenario, brother. A little bit of politics in reference to the cigar game.
Yeah.
A cigar aficionado, those books.
Yeah.
We talk about, we read about. How much of the politics is really? Do people pay to get in? And you might not be able to say.
I'll say this. I'll say this. That of course. It's like anything else, man. You like certain people more than others. You get along with certain people and certain companies more than others, and there is a certain amount of influence and this and that, and I'll let one's mind figure out the rest. You know what I mean?
Say no more. Yeah. Brother Andrew's in the building. Andrew, my brother. Thank you for joining me here on Smoke World, brother. You have a hell of a story. You wrote a book.
Yes.
But you wrote a book based on your life.
That's right.
Okay, so that's the thing. You just didn't write a book. You talk about failure, the F word. And it's not the F word that people will think about when they say F word, brother.
Right.
So first of all, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, brother. So let's start this from the beginning, if you don't mind, brother. What inspired you to write this book, Failure Rules?
Yeah, so I think it's I'm in my late 40s now. My first 2 decades of my working life, the 20s and 30s, by nature and also by necessity, I was very entrepreneurial. And I'm also a creative, right? So it was this idea of how do I find a way to, marry money and meaning. So I was trying many things, had a young family, and throughout those 2 decades, I had a lot of what I would call entrepreneurial off-road adventuring. Everything from running record labels to financial planning to owning online lending companies to owning a gym to writing a spy novel, being a bodybuilder, all that stuff, all shrouded in cigar smoke because that's part of my lifestyle too, And it was essentially, I was taking a beach walk, and it was when I was going through kind of these twin failure moments or failure spaces. I just exited a business where I had kind of a business divorce with a partner in the online lending company that I had ownership in. And so I was going through some reorganization. There was some failure there in terms of some of my core income had gone away, and I had to figure out how to replace it. And at the same time, my first marriage was dwindling. And I'm taking this beach walk, and I'm reflecting on all this stuff, thinking about all the things I have learned, how I'm going to move forward, how I move forward in the past. What are all these kind of like inspiration inputs and virtual mentors that had kind of helped buoy me? Everything from, music to podcasts to people I knew in real life and real life mentors. And what were all the lessons and kind of those anchoring ethos that kept me going? And I thought about the Winston Churchill quote. Obviously, I admire Winston for his, want to emulate his cigar smoking habits because, that's one of his core attributes. But, obviously he's also one of the most quotable human beings that ever existed. And the quote that he had, which is, success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And no matter what happened to me, I never lost my enthusiasm. That was like the endorphin of my spirit that kept me going through any sort of pain, just like getting a runner's high or something. And I just was like convicted on this beach walk as I'm listening to music, songs that inspired me, Cro-Mags, Hard Times, Motorhead, Ace of Spades, right? And singer of the Cro-Mags, John Joseph, wrote the foreword to this book. He's a triathlete, author, rock star, all that. And I was like, I'm convicted to write a book on the value of failure. I wrote down some kind of loose notes that day. That was end of 2013, maybe. Started writing the book in 2014. As Hemingway says, all first drafts are shit. So the first draft was shit. It was all self-indulgent, kind of just, get it all out of me, kind of thing. And then over the years, I refined it, layered in all kinds of case studies, pulled out lessons that tied in, my own experiences to experiences of, known figures, emerging figures, all different types of influencers. And then these kind of overarching rules bubbled up, kind of hovering around up atop these lessons, and they became the 5 rules of failure. And the kind of the structure revealed itself over time from draft to draft. Took 7 years and another year or so of editing with the publisher Linecrest Publishing, who also Linecrest Publishing did David Goggins' first book.
Nice.
He wrote Can't Hurt Me. He just had a new book out, Never Finished. I was just listening to the audiobook in the car. James Altucher published through them. So it's a serious publishing company, but it is a self-publishing service, right? So I still own the rights, but all the professional accoutrements to bring a book into the world was at my disposal by working with them. And, that was kind of the journey. And now I'm at the front end of, trying to evangelize, the value of failure to the world. And just one footnote. This doesn't mean that, this isn't failure porn, right? I'm not saying, go fail, it's great. Failure actually sucks. The tagline of the book is, after it sucks, failure rules. Because it first does suck. But if you metabolize it wisely, you learn the rules, you can make it rule with an exclamation mark.
Nice. Okay, so now, for the listeners who are listening, brother, the lessons that you think you've learned from failure, which we all learn something from failure, but I want you to give your perspective on exactly what the key concept in your mind is when it came to failure that really pushed you to write a book about failure. Because again, we all fail at something that's just how life is.
Yeah.
So what was really your motivating factor? Because you have a lot of different pieces to that puzzle in this book. It's a nice... I haven't finished the book yet, I'll be honest with it. It's like a college book a little bit, you know what I mean? It's not a quick, fast 5-10 minute, 1 day, 2 minute.
No.
And I'm getting old and my glasses don't really work like they used to. And I notice when I go to sleep at night, I'm like, these are small print. Small print. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, that's why I did the audiobook too, man. That's why some people
this print is really small. I'm like, damn, I think I need to maybe, get another eye exam and get my eyes examined. But nonetheless, you have a lot of key factors in that, brother. So, you said you was walking on the beach. So, at what point do you say, okay, guys, girls, whomever, in this world right now. People folk. You know what? I've got a lesson for you guys. This is what I took from failure.
Yeah.
What was that lesson that really, or maybe that one thing, maybe it was more than one thing, I don't know, that made you say, you know what? I need to share this with the world.
Yeah.
I really learned something from this failure. I was able to overcome some things. And now I'm moving to another point in my life based on this failure. What was that? If there's one thing, or what stands out in your mind?
So, again, there's 5 rules. I think the 2 book-ended rules, failure rule number 1 and failure rule number 5, probably the most powerful. The other ones kind of fill in the meat in between. The first one is failure rule number 1 is failure purifies. And the last one, failure rule number 5, is you are not your failures. Those 2, I think, were the strongest. So failure rule number 1, failure purifies. It's the idea that the phoenix must burn to emerge. That oftentimes when we go through failures, or we're going through the metamorphosis that happens through a failure, whether it's a failure that is because of our own dereliction or gaps in decision making, or one that just because we live in an unsafe world where things are unpredictable, or things just happen. This is an imperfect world. There's war, there's sickness, there's the volatility of the free market. Anything can happen, right? But it's the idea that oftentimes if we step out of our failures and try to be objective observers of them instead of emotional participants in them, we can look at them and we can realize that, oh wait, this might be burning something off of me that needed to burn for me to move forward and to grow and to evolve and become a stronger person, right? So it's the idea that old thinking needs to die, new thinking can emerge, old ways of being can die, new ways of being can emerge, opening ourselves up, using the chaos of a failure space as instead of a threat to be fearing, use it as an energy to shape you into something new and something better as you go to your next step. The author, Nassim Taleb, great intellectual, in his book Anti-Fragile talks about this. It's the idea that, for certain people who are anti-fragile, they're not just resilient. Shit doesn't just happen and they just get up and they keep going.
Right.
They actually get up and like a hydra, they gain from harm with exponentiality. They become stronger. And it's that idea, that purification through flames. So that's one, and then you are not your failures is another, where I think a lot of people get stuck and paralyzed is bad things happen to them, whether it's divorce, whether it's bankruptcy. I've been through both. Whether it's been on public assistance, been there. Whether it's businesses failing, been there. Whether it's estrangement from my son, which happened for a while. Been there. I think a lot of people have these things and they attach it to their identity, as opposed to decoupling their identity from failure events, learning from them, and moving on and finding ways to become stronger and to become, a better next version of themselves.
So, can I interrupt with something?
Yeah.
Nassim Taleb, Irish guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, if Irish guys are Lebanese, for sure. Just because I'm a Mick doesn't mean I can't quote a Lebanese guy. I love the Lebanese.
Now, you mentioned, like I said, failure. So, I'm looking at this from anecdotal perspective of myself. I say, okay, what is this? How does this work? Because you broke down a lot of big words, man. You know what I mean? You went to college, I can tell. You know, you're a college guy. I'm a public school guy. Some of those words I didn't tell you was talking about. Let's be honest with you.
I did drop out and then went back. But, hey, that's another
okay, but nonetheless, at the end of the day...
You're right. He's on a different level, bro.
Yeah. I was trying to keep up.
Try being friends with him for all these years, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I was trying to keep up with him. I'm like, okay, am I following what he's saying? Make sure I know what that word means.
Yeah.
I got to be real here. I got to figure out, do I know what that means? So, when it's the concept... Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Each individual is going to be different when it comes to how they handle failure. Do they see themselves moving and propelling, or do they just kind of soak themselves in that moment in time to say, you know what, this is not for me. I'm done. I'm going to check another path. But you're saying somewhat embrace that.
Yeah.
Move forward with that.
Yeah.
And learn from it. Now, again, each person is different.
That's right.
So what motivated you personally to really go there with, because I'm inspired, brother. What you said is inspired me. I'm ready, Rami, I don't know if we can maybe make a couple $1 million next week.
Let's do it. Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how I'm feeling right
I'm writing
now.
a business plan as we speak. You know what I mean?
So, as you talk to the layman, the everyday person who's struggling and working 9 to 5 and dealing with the bills and life, and they read this book and they say, I can grasp some things from this. I have a concept, I have a good idea of what he's talking about, but how do I apply that to my life? What would you tell those individuals?
So a couple of the concepts in the book that I think are really practical. Failure rule number 4 is build a thing 1 and thing 2 dependency. Thing 1, thing 2 has nothing to do with cat in the fucking hat. Thing 1 and thing 2 is more like envisioning like a disheveled Tony Soprano waking up in his white bathrobe, having his first cigar of the day and say, hey, you've got a thing 1 enabler pursuit over here and a thing 2 North Star pursuit over there. It's the idea that you don't just go at your dreams, head first, right? To avoid failure as much as it's possible, even though when you encounter it, you want to embrace it and learn from it, you still want to avoid it, right? Because failure still sucks before it can rule. So the thing 1 is your enabler pursuit. Like, think about how you can have a wide view of building your work life or your hobby life or your pursuit life or interest life, and have something that is more of a scaffolding of stability. It might be a low-meaning job, that it might be, monotonous and full of drudgery, but use that as a springboard to then have the flexibility and a little more safety as you go after your thing 2 North Star dream, right? So an example I use in the book, and a very creative example of this, is there was these 2 brothers I knew. I anonymized them in the book. They were from Lebanon. A lot of Lebanese talk here tonight. They came over to this country, and to them, their pursuit of happiness in the new world was they wanted to be business owners. They wanted to start some retail brick and mortar businesses, but they didn't have the seed money, right?
Okay.
So their creative thing 1 enabler, with low meaning, utilitarian, was they went and worked for Disney on Ice, traveled in the merch truck, selling swag to mothers of girls who love princesses, for years, but Disney on Ice paid for the lodging, paid for the food, so they had no home. They're married to the road. It's like a Metallica song, wherever I may roam, the road is my home, and that's what they did. But they built up that seed money, low meaning, with the North Star pursuit, or thing 2 in mind, and then when they were done, they started a retail empire. Ended up, owning a cigar lounge, owning a gym, owning gas stations, owning a strip club. They ran shit. All from Disney on Ice, because they had that sacrificial mindset of using one thing to build another, right? And so it's that idea of you don't just go after your dream and disregard all else. You got to live in the real world. You got to anchor yourself to some sort of plan that has layers to it. So that would be like one, I think, practical kind of rule.
Okay, so do you think luck plays any role in this particular scenario? Because again, folks are listening saying, I like what you're saying, but I just can't get there. I just quite can't get to that next level. I did everything I thought I knew how to do, but I just can't get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I like to talk to the everyday person who's struggling, and at the end of the day, there is a rainbow sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, again, sometimes. You got to be realistic. Everybody's not going to make it.
That's right.
Everybody's not going to make it. So I was curious to know, because again, this is a hell of a book. Again, shout out to the book. Failure Rules, folks. Failure Rules.
Man.
Boom, let them say it. There you go, Failure Rules. And they read that and say, damn, Andrew, I'm just not, like, getting where I need to be.
Yeah.
I'm hearing what you're saying, but do I need to pray more? What do I need to do? Because that example is a hell of an example. With the Lebanon brothers saying they came over, and they got the job, and they had a they was consistent.
Yeah.
They had a dream. So
and
it takes work. Right, it takes work. So it's not going to happen overnight. We know it's not going to happen overnight. And I think a lot of people put maybe a couple weeks, a couple months into something, and then if they don't see what they think they're going to see, they fall off.
That's right. It takes a long view. It takes a long horizon. It also takes kind of a knowledge of what my failure rule number 2 is. Failure rule number 2 is nothing is safe. And guess what? Your dreams aren't fucking safe either. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go after them. You should, because you're going to learn a lot in the process, and you might discover a new dream as you're going along. So, A, don't over-identify with the dream.
Gotcha.
You might have one, but realize that it might happen. But you still should go after it anyway, because going after it in and of itself is going to bring you fulfillment and might lead you to an adjacent dream that might actually be more what you ought to do. So another example of that is one of my favorite spy novelists, Vince Flynn. He's not a spy novelist. He passed away in 2013, early cancer, age 47. But he wrote 14 novels. But before that happened, his dream was to go be in the military. He wanted to be a Marine, right? Guess what? Nothing is safe. That dream didn't work out. He was disqualified. He had physical issues. He also had dyslexia, right? And so then it pivoted, and he found his adjacent dream, which, well, if I can't be a Marine, I'm going to write about a Marine character. And he, discovered and wrote about. He created the character Mitch Rapp, which ended up being the movie American Assassin with Michael Keaton and some other folks. And he began writing his spy novels. But even then, shit wasn't easy. He had to have a thing one, enabler pursuit, selling commercial real estate. And then he abandoned that and took a risk and moved, I think it was to Colorado. And he wrote during the day and bartended at night for years to get his first novel out. Rejected by tons of publishers. So he also had dyslexia, so writing was not natural for him. So he had all kinds of things he had to overcome. Dyslexia, rejection from the publishers, all this stuff. Eventually, he persevered, and this adjacent dream wasn't his original dream.
Right.
And it came true. So it's about going down the path, having your eyes wide open to know that, this might be your dream now, and you should go after it, but keep your eyes open for that adjacent possible. What might be sitting next to that dream that might actually be your destiny? Just keep an open mind. Don't over-identify with any one thing. Have a portfolio of pursuits.
So don't lock into one thing. Just keep down that same path.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of things, him and I talk all the time. Obviously, we're very dear friends, longtime friends.
Yes,
I think a lot of it, Stone, is coming from an immigrant mentality. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times in the American world, I dreamed of this and it didn't work out, whatever. In the immigrant world, like he was saying, these two brothers, you can't give up. Like, you can't give up, man. Because by the time you got here, you got kids, they got no place to live, this and that. So a lot of times, man, you got to get creative as shit real fast, real quick. And you got to do shit you don't want to do. But the thing is everyone always says, well, how do these people come here and they figure it out? Listen, it's not they figured it out. They didn't have a plan. It was
have a choice.
They had no choice. And the thing is they're like, listen, man, I'm going to scrub this toilet. It's going to be the cleanest toilet, whatever. And so it's going to be recognized. Right. You know what I mean? So that you kind of do all the... What people don't see is that I think in the background, a lot of people, immigrant or not, people who get to a certain place, they clean a lot of toilets, scrub a lot of floors, get down on their knees, and eventually that pays off. Not always, but that's kind of the key. That's the part that I think everybody skips is, how did they do it?
Yeah.
They didn't see the part where they were like,
that's right.
Listen, starving to death. Yeah. Listen, man, living in a one-bedroom apartment on top of a rat-infested restaurant. They didn't see that part. They only see the end. And I hope that...
That's right.
Yeah, I think...
They don't see the pain of the origin story.
Yeah,
They don't see the agony of the origin story. That if viewed correctly, can be one of the fiercest motivators for the right individuals to claw themselves out of either poverty or even the meaninglessness of a safe, cozy job. Right, and those two things can really, for the right people, light that fire.
Because a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, look, man, I got this. Yeah, I got a nice job. I made, it's not the greatest job, but it's a good job, and this and that. It pays the bills, this and that. Like sometimes, listen, man, you gotta go back. It's kind of like Rocky, man. He got too comfortable in a Rocky 3. You know what I mean? Clubber Lang beat his ass. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Then and Apollo took him to L.A. Man, he was like, he started to train with the animals. He's like, oh, all right, this is where I need to be. You know what I mean?
Changer.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like a lot of people are willing to train with the animals to get where they need to go. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. When you're around people that are hungry, it makes you hungry. If you're around people who are comfortable, it makes you comfortable.
That's right.
So I'm glad you said that, Rami. I'm glad you said that. It's a good segue to, again, who you encircle yourself with as far as you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. That type of scenario. So you have a hell of a story too, Rami. So, we might get into your story, brother. You're smoothing off right here. See, this is why I started this podcast, folks, because I love to talk to folks because they don't know the backstory. They see the glory, but they have no idea how you got to that point. So, Rami, if you don't mind, again,
I don't mind.
You have a hell of a story, brother. Yeah. Because Rami's the guest co-host today, but Rami is the man. Rami, let me see this.
He's also the guest.
Yeah, Rami is the guy that everybody loves. He's knows this cigar game. Rami knows the cigar game. Okay, folks.
Yeah,
so it's one of those individuals. I ask folks because again, I enjoy cigars. I smoke cigars, but the knowledge, I don't know. Maybe I just didn't sit down and study long enough, or maybe I don't have the care for it. But I really respect guys like yourself, Rami, who knows the blend. Again, people are like, Stone, you should know that. I said, well, no, my cigar smoking is cigar smoking. I'm a cigar smoker. I'm a guy who loves the leaf. I never claim to be an expert.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, never that. My whole thing is I enjoy cigars. I have a podcast. I smoke cigars. Some of my guests don't, but that doesn't have anything to do with what's going on. A guy like Rami, he knows his shit. You know cigars. People love you. You're knowledgeable. How did this even get started, Rami? Let's tell that story. How did that get started?
Listen, man. Andy had a blueprint. I had nothing. Just
that's the whole point. That's even better. That's even better.
Listen, man. I don't plan anything, man. Everything in my life happens as it goes. I don't write anything down. I don't memorize. I don't read. I don't write. I don't do any of that kind of shit. You know what I mean? And I'm being dead serious. Andy will tell you.
That's what I love about you.
He doesn't do any of that shit, but he's a master orator.
I'm a spontaneous.
He's a master of persuasion.
Like this poor guy wrote a book, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out. Listen, dude, I got some learning struggles. I do. You know what I mean? I got some learning struggles. I have probably a little bit dyslexic, in a certain way, you know what I mean? But like this guy wrote a book, and he's I'm sitting there. He's like, "Oh, did you read the book?" And I didn't have the courage to say, "Yeah,
what's the book? What's that?"
I'm working through it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you know what? Like one night I did break down, and I told him, I go, "Dude, I read 3/4 of this book." Like I just broke down. I said, "You know what? Like
I'm gonna read this."
Yeah, I'm gonna read it because he's my bro. I don't want to keep bullshitting him. You know what I mean? So but yeah. So nothing in my life is planned. Nothing. Everything's spontaneous. Anything I try to plan, or like I always say, "Oh, I'm gonna turn over a new leaf. I'm going to start doing this and that." It just doesn't work for me because I'm just not that kind of person. You know what I mean? Like I'm not that organized. I don't want to belong to a group. I don't want to label. I don't want to be part of your political party. I don't want to be part of your like.
Part of that.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like Bill Burr when he said "fuck you" in your groups.
Yeah. I don't want to belong to. You know what I mean? What I want. Listen, I think I would say. I would say just, my thing is just, look, I love being around people. I love being around people who love being around people.
Yeah.
And I actually love being around people who actually don't like people in a certain way because some of their like misery kind of makes me laugh. You know what I mean? It makes me think, wow, dude, I'm a really lucky, you know what I mean? Hey, being Rami isn't so bad. You know what I mean? Everybody has a day where they don't, they're like, oh, life could be so much better. And then you meet this cat and you're like, oh my God, this guy's so fucking miserable, man. I'm like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm
the
like.
miserable guys are funny as fuck.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Hell
Funny as shit. Yeah.
Don't talk
to Lou over there. Lou's a miserable prick. Then I go talk talk to
You're
Lou,
like,
and I'm like, yeah,
He's
half
the
an hour
funniest guy in
later,
the
I'm
room.
like, yeah, he's not so bad, dude. You know what I mean? He's, you just got to manage your expectations, So, no. Listen, I don't have a blueprint. My life was a complete clusterfuck. It just went from one place to another. Son of an immigrant, a very hard-nosed immigrant who's tough as nails, and I wasn't that kid. Like, you know what I mean? It was kind of a letdown for him, in the beginning. You know,
Damn.
How
You know what I
many
mean?
shoes you get thrown at you?
Yeah. I got, listen, I thought getting shoes at you, I didn't know. I just thought it was part of every day, getting a shoe thrown at you. I didn't realize, how,
That was an issue.
Yeah, but yeah, man, it just, I really didn't, listen, it's so hard to say how it all started. It just kind of came together. Man, it was kind of part, being in the right place at the right time, persistence. One day, the one thing I got from being a son of an immigrant is I don't give up. You know what I mean? I don't throw in the towel. And kind of like I said, I was always kind of willing to do shit work to get me where I need to go, and not afraid to get my hands dirty and not afraid to take on a job that's ugly.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And not even with the intention of just it's kind of like what I was supposed to do. You know what I mean? As a son of my father, I didn't want to do it, but this is look, man, this is what he trained you for, man. You're like,
right.
Listen, man, you're going to clean this fucking floor on your hands and knees. You're going to do it the right way. You're going to get every crevice, and then you're going to get out the fucking toothbrush and the dental floss, and you're going to clean every fucking corner. You know what I mean? That's what I knew. So the thing is so there was no, I really had no plan, dude. It just kind of worked out. You know what I mean? And
But you were anchored in fucking work ethic.
Yeah. Just work. And the thing is I would say this to end it out because I don't want to ramble on too much. But just in the end, I think you get back what you give, and I like to think that I try to give the best I can at everything I do when I interact with people. I try to honest, straightforward, real. Not try to sell them on something I'm not. You know what I mean? And you'll never see me show up in a suit and you know what I mean, and a six-figure luxury car and oh man, listen, you really gotta buy this cigar is this $500 cigar. That's not me, dude. You know what I mean?
Okay, so interesting you mentioned cigars.
Yeah.
How did you get into cigars, bro?
Well,
how did that happen?
So I'll tell you what happened. So when I was a kid, I had come over here, just fresh off the boat. And
from where?
From Lebanon.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I came here without my father because my father wasn't able to come over. Immigration laws.
Okay.
So it was me, my mother, and my sister, and my grandmother came here, and we didn't have anywhere to live, so we moved in with my uncle around 69th Street in Upper Darby.
Okay.
In a small apartment, and he actually came here on a student visa to study medicine. So he's a physician. And anyway, so I don't have, just that time went on and whatever. Then actually, after he became a doctor, it was like a sign of success. I mean, it's a huge thing, you know what I mean? Coming from nowhere to come here, go to medical school, and that's a huge thing for us.
Absolutely, it is.
So I always kind of looked at him, I always looked at him and thought, wow, man, this cat, you know what I mean? He's got it all. I don't have the brains he does. I don't have whatever. But maybe if I emulate some of the things he does, I'll maybe get where I need to go. So every night when he came home, he would come home, he would put on a smoking jacket, light up a cigar, and pour a couple fingers of Chivas Regal, and I'd be like, wow, this guy. You know what I mean? And he had that big, and he bought that, when he became a doctor, because we lived with him, because he didn't have a family yet, and he bought this big-ass TV, you know what I mean, with all the latest and great, those big-ass, console TVs, you know what I mean?
Big boom tube back
yeah. With the Instamatic.
500 pounds.
Yeah, Instamatic remote and everything.
Took 6 movers to get shit in your door.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? I'm watching this cat. I'm like, wow, man, what's this guy? I'm like 4 or 5 years old, something like that. And I'm looking at this guy, like, wow, this guy's got it all together. That's what I want to do. You know what I mean? Other guys like, yeah, I want to play G.I. Joe. I'm like, that's hanging on the couch. You know what I mean? There's something to this. Like he's thinking, you know what I mean, and having deep thoughts. Yeah, and and that's kind of where I got. That was kind of like that was the where it all started for me. I kind of.
Did you ask him?
Early
Hey,
mentor.
did you come to him and say, hey, what are you smoking? What is that you're smoking?
No, because like in our culture, you're not supposed to like ask like we weren't allowed to ask questions. Like
Adults
you just
kids.
That's what adults kids. You know what I mean?
Right. Mind your business.
Yeah, mind your
Get the
fucking
hell
business.
out of
Yeah, go
here.
play with G.I. Joe or something. You know what I mean? Like
The Kung Fu grip. Don't forget
yeah. That's right, with the Kung Fu grip. So the thing is, it's like you just have to observe. Yeah, you know what I mean. So you're timid. You don't want to ask questions because you get your ass beat. You know what I mean? Oh, what are you doing? That's what adults do. You don't want to do that. You know what I mean? He knows what he's doing. It's not going to hurt him. And I don't know. But yeah, man, that's where it all started. And then it was kind of like always a thing for me where I was like, you know what, man? I just kind of want to like get involved in not get involved. Like I didn't want to like just. It was always in the back of my mind that was like what I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
You were attracted to the magic of the pleasure world.
Yeah. Like I was like, I'm a pleasure-seeking dude. So,
Are you a practical hedonist?
Yeah. I'm a very, very practical hedonist. But yeah. So, dude, it just went from there. Like I wasn't a good student. I wasn't ambitious. Like I didn't college didn't work out too well.
So you didn't have good marks?
No, not good marks. Barely made it to school every day. But
skid marks.
Yeah, lots of skid marks. Yeah. And then, man, it just kind of worked out, dude. I just kind of did my work, did from this and this. And I did, listen, dude, I started at the retail level. Like, literally started in the cigar business, mopping the floor, cleaning a toilet, for an old school guy just like my dad, who wasn't like, oh, let me show you how to, listen, again, I wasn't allowed to ask this guy questions. He didn't train me on anything. He didn't show me anything. So I did all the shit work. But what I did, I think, what I really did was instead of trying to get ahead by asking questions, I observed. Gotcha. I learned everything by osmosis. I learned everything by getting yelled at. You know what I mean? Like basically,
you are a master observer.
Yeah. So I just got yelled at a lot and said, "All right, well, don't do this. Well, you can do this. All right, fine, I'll do this." You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it all. That's the beginning, man. That's the beginning, and then it just kind of.
Can I make a few comments about Ramar here?
Yeah.
So he's very modest here about not having a blueprint.
Yes.
And he might not have, but that doesn't mean the motherfucker doesn't have strategy when he sees something.
Say it
again. He
again.
go
Let him know. Yes.
Might not have a blueprint, but when he sees an opportunity, he gets a strategy. He latches onto it, right? So he actually lived out and exemplified some of the themes I talk about in the book, right? One of the themes is, as I mentioned before, the adjacent possible. Which is an idea Richard Branson talks about a lot. There's a book called Where Ideas Come From that talks about this. It's that idea of like, what am I doing now, and what's right next to it that is possible adjacent to it that maybe I lurch into next, right? So there's that concept, and then there's the concept of intersecting two ideas, marrying them, and creating something new, a new opportunity. So Rami, sweeping the floor as a clerk at the cigar shop, right? That's one skill set. He saw the adjacent possible because his day job was wholesale delivery for auto parts. So wholesale sales skills with cigar knowledge, right?
He left that
he
out.
Took the adjacent possible, and he's like, yo, I'm marrying these skills. I'm intersecting these motherfuckers.
Yes.
And I'm going to go after the opportunity. I'm going to become a wholesale cigar person, right? So he took his thing one and his night job, turned him into this thing two, right? He became who he is today. So him saying he doesn't have strategy, I ain't buying it. The man knows what he's doing.
Okay, you see that? Rami, you left
you
it out.
get outed, man. I get outed, but like Andy, like Andy said, he, listen, man. Sometimes people don't see. It's like, it's like Mr. Miyagi said to Daniel's son. Not everything is as it seems. You know what I mean? So sometimes you're doing shit that you don't want to do, but there's a lot of like, if you stop and observe from people who, and look, I learned from people who are like. Not nice people, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like good people, but not particularly nice, like not warm and fuzzy. But the thing is sometimes...
Not sociable. They're not sociable.
Yeah, and they're not going to teach you anything. But if you observe, you're going to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're the best teachers because, you know what I mean? Like sometimes their impatience and their, being a complete asshole actually like motivates you to say, oh, okay, well, I'm only going to tolerate this for so long. You know what I mean?
And also you can say, well, I like what he did here, but I'm not going to be an asshole.
Exactly. Hey, man, how do you do this?
What to pull and what not to
How
pull.
do you do this? Be a nice guy and go to sleep at night with a clear head. You know what I mean? That's that's what you do. So.
All right, now, Andy, how did you get into the life of loving the leaf, brother? How did that go down?
I gotta say, I've dabbled in cigars here and there, but usually shitty trash bag cigars when I was broke, motherfucker. But he came out and visited me when I lived in Toledo, Ohio. I lived in the Midwest for about 7 years. When I was building my record labels, when I was working in the music industry. And I had gone out on my own, was running my record labels full time before I hit some turbulence and had to kind of turn into a portfolio manage IP rights and go into finance. But there was a time where he came out to visit me, and I had this office downtown. I didn't feel like hanging out there. I had to do a little work on the laptop, but we were hanging out. I was like, yo, and these cigar lounges around here. He was starting to get cigars. It's like 2005. So we went to this place, Port Royal, in Toledo, Ohio. Hung out, met a bunch of great dudes, smoked cigars, drinking coffee. I'm doing work on the laptop. I'm like, this is the fucking life. This is the way I work. Like remote working, pause for a minute, shooting the shit, hanging out. He left, went back to, Philadelphia, and I'm still there in Toledo. Next thing I know, 2-3 days a week, I'm working out the cigar lounge. And it just that's when I became a lover of the leaf. Like you, I'm not I'm not a scientist. I don't know all the ins and outs of everything. I don't remember all the shapes and the sizes, I know full body, light. I know what I like, I know what I don't like, right? But I just became, it's the feeling. It's the ambiance it's creating. It's the aromatic pleasure.
Yes.
It's the coupling with coffee or chocolate or bourbon, whatever else. It's the feeling of a cigar when you're driving your car and you got music, you got smoke in the air, you got the movement of the car.
Preach.
It's like without the cigar, I was sick for 2.5 weeks. It was like life was like dry fucking toast. Like it was just no flavor to it. I needed the cigar,
Yes.
And it just became, I just fell in love with it, man,
Bro, I'm glad you mentioned the music. We're not going to skip that, brother. We got to talk about this music life. In my former life, I did music myself. But let's talk about the music life, brother.
Yeah.
What do you play?
I don't play nothing. I was in a hardcore punk band one time, and I wouldn't even call it singing. It was just me shouting and screaming anthemic anthems, right?
Well,
so I did that, But I was a record. I own record labels, so I own the rights to over 100.
All right, let's talk about
recordings.
it, man. Let's talk about it, baby.
So for that, I'm not in the music.
You in the music, baby.
I'm in the music business. I sign bands, recording contracts. I market and distribute their music, get it out to the world. Do all the nuts and bolts of the behind-the-scenes stuff to get it out there and help the system.
Well, you know what? That's the part people don't realize. As musicians, this is a music business.
Man,
so at the end of the day,
no joke.
Don't sit here and say, now you're the main guy. This is what they need to know. Those musicians, rappers, singers, artists, whoever, drummers, guitar, they need to understand the business.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Because it is a business. So don't skip over them I was just a business guy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the business side of that, brother. Let's get into that a little bit.
Sure.
So tell us, how did you get into the music business? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I was coming out of college and had this passion for underground independent music, alternative music, hardcore, punk, metal, whatever you want to talk about it, rock and roll, baby, That was my thing. Gave me a lot of energy, spoke to my soul, soundtrack of my life, got me out of the bed every day with fury and zeal, you know what I mean? So I was out of college. I dropped out of student teaching and just took an English degree. And so I was like, all right, how can I marry my love for music with writing? Started writing for music magazines, didn't pay shit. I was like, all right, what's the next step here? What's the adjacent possible? I'm going to start a record label. Knew a guy that had a record label, and I just shadowed him for free, just learned everything I could. Learned the contracts, learned the aesthetics, learned the language, got his Rolodex, started making contacts. And I was freshly married at one point after I was in a band that we broke up. And I was laid off my job as a bill collector for Ford Credit, collecting unemployment, delivering pizzas, and balls on the table, took a risk, maxed out my credit cards, signed this New York hardcore band called Breakdown that I always loved, and put out a record, got a distribution deal. Instantly, I was in lots of debt, and I was in the hole. But I had some recurring revenue, and I had, like Churchill talked about, success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. Fucking enthusiasm was there, and then I just kept going. I found ways to get financing and keep going and sign more bands. Eventually, it wasn't really to my 36th release that I had any real success. It's like an insurance pool, man. It's like, I put out 100 records, maybe 15 actually survived perennially to create revenue while you sleep without
with some royalties or something, some change in it.
Yeah, and it was my 36th release. I signed this band, Madball, New York hardcore band, Hispanic guys. They did some songs in Spanish too. They got groove in them too because singers also in hip hop bands, right? But it was a hardcore band, street hardcore, with a little bit of kind of that hip hop flavor in it. And they were hugely popular. They're still playing today. They're a full-time band. They tour the world.
Nice.
They've done tours with Limp Bizkit and stuff. They've been all over the place, right? I'm not a big fan of the Biscuit, but that's kind of like where that's their caliber. They've even been on like the No Jumper podcast, which is a very large hip hop podcast.
Right.
Singer was on that, and I signed them, and then it was like bam, I had that social proof. And from there, cascade, I was able to sign other bigger bands who wanted to be associated with this brand I was rebuilding. So that happened, but I hit this point where I went from dropping my thing 1 and going full time in my thing 2. And I was overinvested in records, going too fast, and I got over leveraged. At the same time, the digitization of music happened quicker than I thought. All of a sudden, the returns on the retail level coming back from Tower Records were really, really high. Tower Records went out of business, cut 25% of my sales. Oh shit, I'm over leveraged. I overinvested in these few releases that I haven't recouped yet. I ran into real trouble, and that's why I had to scale back and then go into finance and banking and kind of pare down my record labels to something that was part-time. And I still have been doing it for 10 to 15 years after that.
Okay.
I still do them today, here and there. I maybe release 2 or 3 records every couple of years, then they take a break. Still work with some bands now that are still active. I started a second label that was more, the genres are, they call it psychobilly, which is a mix of old rockabilly and punk rock, and and Celtic punk, so bagpipes with fast music, It's band Flatfoot 56. It's similar to like Dropkick Murphys, if anybody in your audience knows them. And, I kept it going. So it actually became more fun when I didn't rely on it for a full-time income. Still monetizable, but became so much more fun because it was back to that passion and the hobbiness of it without the pressure.
Right.
And it ended up being something that's just, I guess, a little bit part of my legacy, right? So I write about it a lot in the book.
All right, so now I want to give a little nugget, if you can, to those who are listening who are aspiring musicians, artists. What do they need to understand about this business?
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
I mean? Because now digital changed the game, brother.
Yes, it did. Hell yeah.
Let me just pop in on that.
Yes, sir.
I think the key thing Andy said, and the key thing, like kind of what with me too, like doing this whole thing, is I think him and I had the fortunate situation to learn the business from the, I think in the cigar business too, it's the same thing. I tell people, I go, listen, man, you got to learn the business. If you don't learn the business, it's all a wash.
Yeah,
like
right.
it doesn't mean anything if you don't know the business. Like, hey, man, listen, I can go out, moonwalk, do my dance, sing a couple karaoke songs, or But the thing is I also the whole time, just like him, I'm sure, just like anybody in business, the whole time in the back of your head, you gotta be like, all right, man, I gotta figure out, and that's the most important. I would say that's a really key thing is learning everything from the basement,
From the ground up.
all the way
Right.
to the roof. You know what I mean? You got to build the foundation
And
to build a house.
You mentioned digital, because the digital game, when I was doing production work in the mid 2000s,
Yeah.
and as things, the internet,
That's when it happened.
yeah, brother, the game changed.
Big time.
Whereas though you didn't need the A&R,
Yeah.
you could actually promote yourself.
Yeah, you got direct access.
Right, you can say, you know what, I can get my own audience and have these folks now, these labels, come look for me.
Yeah.
If I'm hot enough, got social media, you can change the game. They're looking for me.
Yeah.
I don't need y'all.
Yeah.
Fuck y'all. Guess
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
If I want to deal with you, I can deal with you.
Right.
You bring me the numbers.
Yeah.
I got the bag right now.
Yeah.
So what would you tell, I don't say this to be young, but the
Yeah.
aspiring artists at this moment in time in life, you coming from the business perspective, which is an important perspective. And a lot of folks don't realize that because they understand, oh, I want to make my music and do my thing. That's great. But it's called the music business.
That's right.
So I want
Art
you to give
and
them a little
commerce
nugget.
gotta go together.
Just give them a little nugget of the business aspect, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
If you don't
sure.
mind.
So,
Educate them a little bit.
Just to piggyback on what he was saying, part I left out was my day job throughout this whole time was in the music industry. So I was getting paid education by day. I was running the wholesale department for a metal label, Relapse Records, for 2 years, and I was one of the top salesmen at a distributor, Lumberjack Moredown, in Ohio, where I was part of the initial retail plans to launch big bands like All American Rejects, like Poison the Well, like bands like Terror, all kinds of. So I got that on the ground, grimy experience, just like he did, working as a cigar clerk, working wholesale and auto parts, marrying those skills, right? So you do have to start from the inside, man. You got to find a way to penetrate and get that paid education in whatever space you're trying to crack into, right? But in terms of artists and advice, I would say a couple things. One, disintermediation is real, right? What we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
The gatekeepers have been minimized. They're still there, and they still
Absolutely.
have a place, but they've been minimized, right? But with that direct access, where everybody can upload their shit, there's also more competition.
Yes.
Before, you got the attention of the gatekeeper, you had a higher probability of success. Now you compete with everybody,
Yeah,
right?
you are.
So that's tougher. But there is still a place for the marriage between a label and artists. One, artists have to realize they are going to have to do most things themselves. And making a good record is only the start. Good record don't mean shit if you don't know how to get out in the world.
Right.
Writing a book don't mean shit if you're not going on podcasts and figuring out the mechanisms to get the world to pay attention to it, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter. You got to learn that part. And that's the harder part, right? You got to be organized. You got to have a plan. You got to map that shit out. You got to grunt. You got to hit the pavement. And, I think for artists, right, like certain artists can benefit from labels. There's more of a tug and pull between the risk reward, right? If they want to carry more risk, then they can get a deal with a label where they have more favorable terms. But if they want a label to take on more risk, they're going to have to give up more, right? In terms of rights, percentages, and all that stuff. So it's always a risk-reward tug and pull between the parties. But I find that there's still niches of bands that they have some momentum, they have a certain amount of sales, but they still want kind of the support of a label in terms of hooking them up with publicity apparatus, branding, the social proof of being on a label with other bands that are known, and how that gives them some notoriety, tour support. There's still reasons to partner with a label, but the models are much more flexible now. I do a lot more creative deals than I ever did before because they don't need me as much, but they still need me a little. So it's different in the days where back and forth it was like, if you don't sign a label, your shit ain't getting out there.
Right.
So I'm a gatekeeper. I'm interested. Here's what's happening. I'm taking all the risk. You're not.
Gotcha.
Put
that money behind you.
I think it's a different world, but I think it's a great world for the artist. It's better for the artist, and there's still a place for labels.
Did y'all hear that, folks? You better be paying attention because that's free on Smoke World.
Preach, brother.
Free.
Preach.
Free. Now, speaking of some information, Rami,
Yeah.
one of my favorite cigars,
Yeah.
is coming back.
Yes.
What the fuck is going on, Rami? The Amazon Basin people,
Yeah.
listen to me, folks. The Amazon Basin is coming back. Now, because when it came out, it was only limited. And every year you guys teased us. It ain't coming out no more. What you see is what you get. Don't ask for no more. That seems to have, I'm not going to say went away, but the Amazon Basin is coming back again. Enlighten us, brother.
It is. It's coming back a little bit different. So it's the same blend, same everything. We're just we're doing experimenting with some different aging stuff, and a bit of a different. The box will be the same. I think it's gonna be a different color. So and I'm talking pre-production here. So
No, I just see the box. They sent me the box. It's a black box with some green writing.
Yeah. So
I did see it.
But knowing
I got some inside scoops.
knowing me, it'll come out a totally different color, or look a totally different way, and it'll be fucked up, and they'll be like, yeah.
If it looks like the sneakers, make everybody turn
Right.
Yeah. Really, man, it's what they say in you don't mess with the Zohan. It's got Sony guts. You know what I mean? It's got doesn't say Sony on the front, but it's got Sony inside. You know what I mean? So Sony on the inside. So no, it's listen, man, it's a fun project. It's a bit of a nerve-wracking project because obviously you're people are waiting, and when people wait, they have expectations. And it's one of those things where it always kind of has to hit the mark perfectly.
Okay.
It has to be kind of right there. The blend, the aging, all that stuff has to be right there. The packaging and all that stuff. So, dude, it's fun. It's fun to be a little nervous. It's fun to be a little it's fun to be wobbly a little bit because listen, man. In the end,
wabi-sabi?
Wabi-sabi. Yeah.
Wabi-sabi,
Andy, what does wabi-sabi mean?
According to David Lee Roth, it means it's perfect because it's a little fucked up.
That's exactly right. You know what I mean? And that's a name that should be the theme of my existence. Yeah. Anyway, so it's listen, man. The best thing in the world after that comes out is seeing how happy people are to have it. Seeing all the people posting it and all that stuff, and just man, it gives you a great feeling of wow, you did something cool because people wait for so long.
Yes. Now, speaking of waiting, when can we expect this product to be hitting the market?
So again, we have
stand by.
They're saying next week.
Moving target.
Yeah, moving target. But
so next week we're looking at so that's January
of
10th, 12th, that week. Of that week.
Yeah. So sometime in the next, I would say safely, sometime in the next 2 weeks. But sometimes things happen. Sometimes logistics. Cigars are handmade. Sometimes things aren't ready. Sometimes like Andy was saying, there's a lot of moving pieces to the cigar business. There's a lot of stuff in the background that people don't see. They only see the romantic part. They don't see the actual work that goes in.
Yes.
And there's
They don't see the Sony guts.
Yeah, they actually do not see the Sony guts. Thank God they don't see the Sony guts. You know what I mean? And
Entrails and shit.
Yeah. But you just have there's a lot of moving pieces, and those moving pieces are it's kind of strange because everything today is manufactured. It's built. Cigars are still handmade. You know what I mean? Still hand rolled. They're made by individual people, like you, me, and Andy. And listen, there's delays. There's things, ship not getting out of the port, not being able to get into port. There's warehousing stuff. So there's a lot of logistics that go into miscommunications. So it's kind of tough when I'll say this. I'll say it in the shortest possible way. When things aren't automated, it's really tough to make sure things show up on time.
Okay, I got you.
You know what I mean? So I want everyone in the cigar world to understand now. Oh, why is it taking so? Listen, it's not automated. It is completely like, hey, bro, did you? You know what I mean? It's all phone calls, emails, and communication that goes into that.
Now, here's the $1 million question, Rami.
Mm-hmm.
Will this be a one and done, or can we expect? Because the Amazon Basin again. I never had a favorite cigar.
Right.
And I've been smoking since like 1995.
Yeah.
The Amazon Basin is a banger to me. So what is going to be to follow? This comes out. Is this going to be thanks for coming out? God bless. Good night.
Yeah.
Or are we going to be teased again and say, this is not going to happen again, and then maybe 2 years later we pop up with something different?
No, I think what happens is when something like this comes out, what I mean, there's a big woo. And then it kind of calms down, and and then how do you top that again? People kind of want to stop thinking. The companies kind of want to stop thinking about it, until but they're already working on the other stuff. That's all in the
in the makings.
Yeah.
So what's the pipeline look like? Is everything about 12 months out in the planning stage, or 6 months out?
It could. Honestly, there's things we plan out. I mean,
18
we'd be shot way longer into years, like 5 years, 7 years.
Okay.
Just with like a rough idea, like a rough sketch of
Gotcha.
Nothing. Could be something.
Right.
I don't know.
Preliminary. It's in the preliminary.
Yeah. But there's something. Hey, in say 25, we're gonna have this. We're gonna have that. But like you can't. The problem is in the cigar business, like any other business, you don't want to give people too much information because information starts going, oh, it's coming out, but it didn't work out.
Sometimes changes.
Yeah, and the thing is, listen, Mother Nature got involved and she decided that it wasn't gonna, what was coming out in 25, that a hurricane came through and it didn't really, it didn't come to fruition
itself.
Yeah, so the thing is you just don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. So I think a lot of it is, we know things are coming out, we have an idea things are coming out, but we just, again, don't want to get ahead of ourselves because when something doesn't work out, then it kind of looks like no pun intended, a failure on our part, or any other.
Failure rules, brother.
Yeah, but failure does rule.
But only after it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part where it sucks.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so you're saying it won't be necessarily a one and done.
No.
No. So this may be a regular.
It won't be a regular thing, but I think the pattern is, and I'll go by the pattern.
Okay.
The pattern is usually 12 to 18 months. You see Amazon based.
Okay.
And as long as
it's not annual necessarily.
Yeah. It's not annual. It just kind of comes at the right place, right time. And when we, I guess, kind of acquire the right amount of tobacco to do a full production run. I think that's the big thing. I think the materials are the big thing.
Okay. So, and I'm gonna ask you a question, and you may not know the answer.
Yeah.
Do you think the Amazon Basin will be ever a regular?
No.
Okay. No. Okay. You already knew where I was going with that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be a negative.
I could say 99.9% firm that
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, folks, you heard it. Get your Amazon Basin. You heard it first here on Smoke World. The Amazon Basin is coming back. The one you love, because they fight over the cigar, brother.
Yeah,
they fight over this.
And available at all the fine brick and mortar retail tobacconists in the beautiful tri-state area.
The ones that Rami actually
Right. The ones that Rami run. So if you ain't in Rami run area,
that's right.
Sorry, you're shit out of luck. Damn.
If you're not a maid store in Rami land, and as the capital.
Yeah, you ain't part of the family. You're not getting that. All right, so as we wrap up, fellas, Andrew, I want you to give a little bit of shout out, brother, of where folks can find you on social media. Okay, talk about the book. You got a website. Give all the information out. Let these folks know where they can find this book, brother.
You got it. So AndrewThorpKing.com. No E on the end of Thorpe. That's my website. From there, you can sign up for my free Failure Rules mini course. It gets you on my email list. You'll get weekly nuggets of failure wisdom to your inbox. Unique content. You can also get my merch page there for my company, Soul on Fire Supply Company. Kick-ass designs, echoing the themes of the book. Have my own special cigar line called Soul on Fire Smokewear with 6 cigar-related designs. They're badass. Check them out for you cigar lovers, which is all of you. Also, you can get my YouTube channel, some produced videos there. Brings the themes of the book alive in a different way. And you can find the book anywhere books are consumed online. I mean, anywhere. And all formats. Audiobook, a beautiful hardcover, paperback, ebook, whatever your inclination.
Okay, now I know you got social media. I know you got IG. What's your IG handle? So folks can come chase you in IG.
That's one of the most active on social media.
Yeah. Give your IG out, brother.
At Andrew Thorp King. No E on the end of Thorpe. Yeah. Follow me on Instagram.
Damn, that's the man. Rami, the man is in the building. Rami might not want to be found. I don't know. Rami might like listen, Stone. Don't put me in that shit.
Listen.
So I don't know, Rami.
Yeah, he said an unknown location.
Listen, I'm like a kind of like a Bedouin, a traveler. You know what I mean? So I kind of move. How you move? But listen, I just want to tell everybody tomorrow night, if you are in the tri-state area, I will be at one of my favorite spots, E Squared Cigar Lounge. The beautiful family-run cigar and cigar lounge and bar. Yeah, Omar, my man.
Coming.
His beautiful wife Quincy. I'll get to hang out with them tomorrow night. And listen, man, they turn it up and they bring the best out of me. Listen, it's one of those events where I actually think, shit, how am I going to outdo the last one, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So come out if you're looking for a great time. Support this shop. They're great people, great family, and the company's is second to none.
And I might be there as an underwhelming sidekick after 9 p.m.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, Brother Andrew, is there anything that I didn't ask that you wanted the folks to know before we shut it down, brother?
Man, I'm just going to harp on failure rule number 5. You are not your failures. If you're going through something and you feel like it's bringing you down and sucking away your value and identity, don't believe that bullshit self-talk in your head. Decouple yourself from your failures, step away, objectively observe it, find a way to move forward, and keep going. Like Churchill would say, keep buggering on. KBO.
Dang. There you have it, folks. There you have it. Well, brothers, I want to thank you for being a guest on Smoke World.
Smoke World.
Appreciate you, brothers. Appreciate it, folks. Well, there you have it. Brothers, thank you. Andrew, Rami.
Thank you,
brothers, for joining me. Appreciate you. Boom!